Party on, Wayne. Party on, Garth. Power on, Xbox. Hey, everyone. Welcome to It Tastes Different Gaming Appetizers. In this episode, we're going to talk about Xbox PowerOn documentary. So Xbox is getting a documentary called PowerOn, the story of Xbox. It's a 6-part documentary, and it's releasing next month in December 13th, 2021, in case you're watching this in the future. It's basically going to talk about the history of Xbox, kind of how it came about, like all the stuff that happened, you know, when The Rock showed off the original Xbox with Bill Gates and on the E3 stage, and the Red Ring of Death, and just like all the trials and tribulations of Xbox. So that's pretty cool. If you're interested in watching the documentary, it's going to be on YouTube, Redbox, IMDb TV, and Roku. And again, that's going to be next December 13th. So coming up pretty soon. And you can watch that 6-part documentary and learn everything you want to know about Xbox's history. So this is cool. I would like to see more stuff like this personally, you know, they've made other gaming documentaries, but this one seems to be more kind of in line with, this is something Xbox announced instead of some indie studio doing a documentary about video games and stuff, which we have gotten in the past. So it would be cool to see like PlayStation and Sony and Nintendo and maybe Sega and stuff like that kind of put together these documentaries and stuff, instead of like the indie developer ones or the indie director ones that we've gotten in the past. But yeah, it sounds pretty cool. What do you guys think about this? Patrick, what do you think?
I had to take a double take there when you said Redbox. I'm like, they're still around? I had to Google it real quick.
I saw one today.
I was like, and I did that too. I'm like, where the hell is there a kiosk near here? And Springfield used to be littered with them, and there's a bunch, but there's not many there used to be. I mean, hell, you couldn't go to Walmart or a gas station without seeing one. So
that's where I saw it, was at the Walmart and Walgreens.
Gotcha. So I am definitely wanting to catch this. I like documentary, especially tech documentaries. I remember when I saw like Pirates of Silicon Valley, the Bill Gates story, you know, I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. And it sheds them in a new light, right? I mean, I didn't know much about Bill Gates. I'm like, that guy's a little freaking thief, you know, when I watched that back in the day. And now I'm just like, you know, where would we be if he didn't do what he did, you know, and he wasn't as smart as he was and did things like licensing and leasing his software rather than selling it to IBM. Where we'd be today, we'd be stuck with this crappy IBM system that, so I'm definitely going to check it out. And it's like, you said December 13th, right? And it's going to be like a 6-part miniseries. So that's going to be pretty interesting. I'd like to watch it, you know, see what history remembers and how they remember it. And if it's different than my memory recollection or how I thought when it was going on. Because, you know, we'll see what it turns into. I'm definitely interested. Are they going to drop all 13 episodes or all 6 episodes on the same day? Or are they going to stagger it? I don't know. I couldn't find anything on that.
Yeah, I couldn't find any information. I assume they're going to piecemeal it out, but right. I don't know.
Yeah, you know, so, and that's not too far away. What do we got? Like a month, a little less than a month before it comes out. So I want to watch it. I'm not, you know, I think Nick is probably watching the least amount of TV out of all of us. So if he's going to watch it, that probably bodes pretty high for it. So I'm oftentimes, you check out this cool movie, and Nick's like, what's a TV? What's this?
I play video games on one, but it does like, other things than that.
He's like, what's this HBO or Disney that you talk about? You know, what's this Marvel's movie? So Shane, what about you, man? You going to check out this documentary?
Oh, hell yeah. I love game stuff, anything game related. I'm excited. I remember first reading about this new amazing system coming from Microsoft of all places. You know, I think it was a Game Informer, or it was one of the gaming magazines. You know, the thing with the paper you used to get in the mailbox. It was magazine. So I was reading about it, and it's like, man, this thing looks really cool. And then I don't remember where I watched it, but they did the Rock reveal and that whole splatter green intro from when powering on the Xbox. Man, that was, I couldn't tell you how many times I watched that, just that little intro thing. It was just so cool, you know. And then I was so pumped for it. And I'm excited to see how they came out with the design. I watched some stuff about the controller for the Duke, how they worked. It was like 100 and some iterations of controllers that before they nailed the Duke down, the massive, massive controller, you go from PlayStation 2 to the Duke. It was
like dropping a nuke in your hand.
Exactly.
It was basically, I forgot about the old Rock and when he did his impersonation of Corey Hart when he came out there just wearing his sunglasses at night in the building.
Yep. Yeah. He was a little douchey, but you know what? He introduced my favorite console of that generation to me, man. It killed the PS2 for me. And I still love the PS2. Don't get me wrong. PS2 still had the single player games, but I went over to Xbox for all the multiplayer. PS2 came out with their internet adapter with the it was the what the hell's the fancy word there? Because you had the dial up and then you had the DSL. Sorry. So it's like I tried the dial up, didn't like it, but with the Dreamcast. But with DSL, I was like, that's a whole new ballgame. When Microsoft launched, they took everything Dreamcast did and then they improved upon it is what they did. It's literally all they did. They just took Dreamcast, they made Dreamcast 2.0, called it an Xbox, in my opinion. So I'm really pumped for it. I'm really interested to see all the different design specs and the thought processes going into it. I mean, that thing was a beast. You could put and burn your CDs into it. I mean, that was badass. So, and that was without a hack or a break or anything like that. You just throw your CD in there. I mean, it had this cool little CD player. I loved it. So I am super excited. I really am.
Yeah, the visual CD player, right? Like you could put it in, it had the cool little backgrounds that jumped around. Yeah, I remember that.
Yep. Yeah, you could change them and, you'd have these weird, graphics going on. You pop a couple hits and, just, it was cool. I mean, I remember the day I got it. I remember the first game I got. The first time I rented for it was over at Movie Gallery, just because my ex worked there. I love the system. I'm excited for it and everything come about it. Do you guys remember a show called Future Tech? I love that kind of stuff, especially when it was war stuff, but video game stuff was definitely, especially when Lawnmower Man came out, I love game stuff. So this has got me pretty pumped.
Yeah, for sure. It sounds, it's going to be pretty cool to watch. I do like documentaries myself, and especially when they revolve around gaming, and it's just interesting to see, what, the alliterations that the Xbox went through. There was that time where, when they were showing off the original Xbox, remember they had that one that stood up and it was chrome.
Yep.
Looking, it looked like an X. That was kind of like, I think that was kind of like a first design prototype or whatever, but I'm sure in the documentary we'll get more information about that. You're talking about the Dreamcast, the Dreamcast ran on Windows CE. Even had a sticker on the front saying so. So it's Microsoft kind of had a hand in that, as far as the operating system goes. But yeah, so supposedly, and they'll have more information about it, but supposedly, in the development of the original Xbox, Dreamcast had died out or was dying out. And they pretty much bought, from my understanding, all the, schematics and various things of that nature from Sega to help build the Xbox, the original one. So it was kind of, in a way, if that story is true, and we'll know as far as that documentary goes, hopefully, then in a way, the Xbox was the Dreamcast 2, kind of, or the reincarnation of the Dreamcast, right? But yeah, it's really, I like these types of things, like Patrick said, I don't really watch much TV, but I do love documentaries, and especially ones about video games and gaming. So I'll definitely check it out. And, it's got to be, the thing about documentaries is it's got to be good. You know what I'm saying? Like not necessarily the content, but just how the documentary is put together. has to be engaging, and that's that makes a good documentary, right? The information's fun as well as how they kind of cut everything together is
presentation.
Really presentations is everything. So I'm hoping it's really good, but I'm definitely going to check it out. And of course it'll be free because it's on it. All those free sites that are out there, YouTube and stuff like that. So hopefully they'll release it all at once. We can just binge through it. But if they piecemeal it, that'll be fine too.
I mean, it's going to be on YouTube. Is it going to be on YouTube Red? Is it gonna, do we know if it's going to be free? I mean,
well, it's on
is
Roku,
YouTube Red still a thing?
What's that? Yeah,
is YouTube Red still a thing?
Yeah, you can still do a Red. I think they now like call it YouTube Premium or something. But
Premium. Yeah.
Was that like their porn version? What?
It's their paid for.
You just get it without ads.
Yeah, and you can also get like premium content. Yeah, I think I call it YouTube Premium now, but you get their stuff that you can't see. It's behind their paywall, if you will.
Oh yeah,
it's behind the curtain in the back of the video shop.
Never mind the man behind the curtain.
I worked at Hollywood Video. I gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, it's just funny that we're getting this, and it's what they're on the tail end of their 20th anniversary that they've announced. The 20th anniversary was this month in November. I remember seeing the first Xbox in the store. I was 20 years old, and I was like, the heck is this Xbox thing? And I'm like, it looks like a giant freaking brick. It looked huge. I was like, this is a briefcase with a big old X on it, and I was like, okay, and lo and behold, it was one of those things. It was my real good it was a foray back into console games. I stopped console gaming and moved on to PC and been playing PC games forever. And it's what got me back into console games because it was Halo with a buddy of mine. That's how he's like, you should check out this game, because I didn't buy it when it came out. I thought it looked cool when I saw it in Walmart, in the little display case where you could play it. But then my buddy's like, I gotta check out this Halo. And I'm like, what's Halo? What's this? What's that? And so then I had to go buy one. It was back in the day when you could actually mod the consoles, and they can do all kinds of cool stuff where you can run different operating systems on them and different things like that and do different things with them. So
Linux was big on the OG Xbox too. Yep. I never had Linux on there, but I had one model console that didn't last long.
Yeah, I liked it because you could change all the dashboards around the way you want, add some cool. Back in the day when Xbox couldn't do it, you could add some cool moving backgrounds and wallpapers and stuff like that. You can just, the console, you had to end up putting an expansion card into the Xbox and soldering connections onto the board and stuff. Actually did some of that back in the day myself, modded Xboxes and stuff like that for people. And you make a pretty good buck if you can mod consoles, or you can wrap consoles and stuff like that back in the day.
Well, one thing I really want them to do with this documentary, because it is being put out by Microsoft, is I want it to be honest. I want them to discuss their disasters as well as their successes. I want them to talk about, the terrible Red Ring of Death and Don Matrick, the two things that damn near killed Xbox. And then, I want them to talk about their successes too, like the original Xbox and Halo. And then, the way it was turned around with the new head guy. I can't think of his freaking name right off the top of my head. Phil Spencer. I want them to be fully honest, with the goods and the bads that have happened, with the wrong decisions and right decisions. So I really hope it's an honest documentary, because typically when you write something about yourself, you're going to be a little more flattering. You're going to lie your ass off too.
Right.
So,
I mean,
I hope it's honest.
The Red Ring of Death was bad for Microsoft, but good for me. I made a lot of money reflowing consoles back in the day when the Red Ring came up. I mean, you mean surprised.
When you wrapped them in a wet hot towel and threw them in the microwave?
I actually reflowed all of the ones. I would pull the board out and put on some fresh solder and some wick and some compound and reflow them. I actually built a rig for my oven that I could actually bolt the board onto the oven, add some additional solder, and throw it in on a high heat on a cleaning mode, and it would, remelt all that solder, because the GPU card and stuff like that used to come loose and break solder, and you have break joints. So you just reflow the whole thing with a heat gun or by baking it in. And you got to be careful. Obviously, it's a wafer board. You put too much heat on, it's going to warp and cause more issues. But I made a lot of money reflowing consoles. I charged $50 a console back in the day to reflow them, to fix them. So
I remember when I got my Red Ring of Death, Halo 3 had just come out. And I think maybe had it a week. And me and Nick jumped on there one night, and then it went, boom, gone. Toast.
It did the same thing with me and you when there was some other big release. I can't remember what it was.
Was
and
it
mine
Gears?
red winged. It may have been. And we were going to play it that night, and mine red ringed, just like yours did with the other game.
Yeah.
But I remember buying the original Xbox. You know, I think I bought it at Toys R Us, and I think the first two games I got was Halo and Dead or Alive 3, which are still one of my two of my favorite games. But
backwards compatible, by the way, Dead or Alive.
That's true. And yeah, that was released, announced during the 20th anniversary. But you know, the 360 kind of went through the same thing that the Xbox Series and PlayStation 5 are going through. You know, it was hard to get a 360 when they came out. They were sold out everywhere, and you could barely. I mean, once a place got them, and they would only get like 2 or 3 consoles, and then they would get wiped out. I got mine lucky because I worked at Target and the night shift, and I saw them come off the truck. And so there was a line outside the door. It was first come, first serve. And so I just stood by the electronics. I asked them, can I buy that now? They're like, no, you have to wait till we open. So I was like, all right. And we opened in the next 30 minutes. And I see these people running down. I'm like, I will take one Xbox 360, please. So, and then we only got 2. You know, and people knew we were going to get some, but they didn't know how many we were going to get. We only got 2.
They got one of the 2. And,
yeah.
No.
And we didn't have to wear. They didn't know though because that I was an employee. Because when we worked night shift, we could wear regular clothes. So I just looked like a customer. Just got in there fast.
Yeah, you might have got beamed over the head with a rack or something if you're wearing your outfit.
Right.
They'd have been like, nah, this guy ain't getting one.
Yeah, right.
I got my 360 at Game Crazy, and I got one of them personal loans to pay for it until my next check.
Wow.
So I ended up paying like an extra $60 for mine. I mean, I literally paid it off the next week, but it was still like $60 freaking more. I didn't want to miss it.
Yeah. I held off. I did not buy the 360 when it originally came out. I didn't buy the 360 until the Elite version came out, the all black Elite version. And that's the one that I ended up getting when that came out. One of the biggest things that I always had a problem with in consoles when I was younger was they always came out with like freaking 6 versions. And I'm like, you are pissing me off. Like, remember when PlayStation came out with the piano and the Slim 2, and you're just like, what the hell one do I want? You know, it was just like, and now they've kind of slacked off. They don't do that as often. They did a mid-gen bump this last one, but like 360 had like 3 or 4 versions. I mean, they had the 360 and the 360 this and the 360 that and the 360 Elite. And I'm like, the 360 with the detachable hard drive. And you're just like, whatever. Which one do I want? So I held off until the Elite, and I got the 360 Elite. Luckily, the Elites didn't have the red ring of death as much as the OG 360s and all that stuff. But I made a lot of money reflowing 360s and stuff like that with the red rings and all the consoles, because it was super easy. I had a heat gun. I already knew how to solder. I had a variable watt soldering gun, so for those finer points, I could just hit it with a low heat. And like I said, I eventually built a rig that had a what do you call the little a griddle? It had a griddle that had mounting points on it that I had it set just the right distance away from a board, and I could reflow the whole thing by adjusting the temperature of the griddle, and it just hung inside my oven for the thermal control. And I would just put that in there and had the right amount of time before it would cause any board damage, and I could reflow the whole board in like no time flat, and I could put like 4 boards in my oven at a given time and reflow them. So
nice.
Made a lot of money off of that, my Xbox debacle there.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see this documentary. The more we talk about it, it's like, I remember my first foray into online gaming, was really with Xbox. MotoGP demo they had on there was, online, and I sucked, but God, I had so much fun with it. And then Castle Wolfenstein released, and that's when I discovered people are really assholes online. So man, I am pumped now that the more we talked about it, I am really pumped to see these documentaries. And maybe at the end of it they'll announce something cool, like they're actually gonna start producing more Series X's so people can buy it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's the
right.
surprise at the end.
Yeah. The surprise at the end is the chip makers have all caught on fire and nobody's making anything else, and you can't get any new ones. That's that's about all you're going to get out of that.
But the good news is the ones that are out there are going to be sold for $8,000 each.
Yep. They're a hot commodity now.
And a kidney.
All right. You guys have anything else you want to add real quick before we end this? All right. All right. Well, everyone, thanks for watching. Let us know in the comments down below. Are you going to check out this documentary? Do you remember the old Xboxes? What, tell us your story. What do you remember picking up the original or the 360? Or what's your favorite old game from those consoles and stuff? But let us know. Make sure to like the video. Make sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notifications to stay up to date with new videos we do all the time. See you later, everyone. Bye-bye.
See ya.